It was a Friday night, and Seaside Mark was expecting a quiet one, sat comfortably on the loo, phone in hand, ready for a deep dive into a Greg's sausage roll review. But then, out of nowhere, ding dong. The doorbell. Mark groaned. Bet it's those trolls again. Still half wrapped in loo roll, trousers barely on, he dashed towards the door, determined to catch them this time. But when he swung it open, he froze. It wasn't some prankster. It was David C., top general of the Seaside Army, standing there like a king. David C. Mark's jaw dropped. "What on earth are you doing at my door?" David grinned. "Thought I'd bring you something special, mate." And there it was, a crate of 12 jumbo bockels of Budweiser, like they'd been delivered by the beer gods themselves. Mark's eyes lit up. "Blimey, David. You absolute legend. But just to be clear, this gift does not affect my benefits, right?" David nodded. "De lads." The night had officially begun. Mark threw 5 bockels into the fridge and cracked open the first one, sinking into his couch with a satisfied grin. "Get in there, lads," he yelled, nearly spilling his beer with each celebration. By the second bottle, things got blurry. Mark started chatting with his fridge. "You're a loyal mate, you know that? Always keeping me beers nice and cold." Third bottle? Well, that's when Mark invented the Seaside Shuffle, a dance that was part dad moves, part failed robot. Every time Wales scored, Mark threw in a few hip thrusts and jazz hands, until one wild thrust sent him flying into the coffee table. De lads. Then came the fourth bottle. Ding dong. The doorbell again. This time it was Mrs. Jenkins, the neighbor, standing there with a confused look. "Mark, why is there a gnome with a Welsh flag in your window?" Mark saluted. "That's Gareth Bale the gnome, the secret weapon of the Seaside Army." Mrs. Jenkins shook her head and wandered off, but Mark, he was just getting started. Back on the couch, bottle in hand, feet up, ketchup bottle knocked over, and crisps everywhere. It was pure bliss. As the night wore on and the 5th bottle went down, Mark was in a world of his own. "De lads," he shouted in his sleep. The next morning, he woke up, surrounded by the aftermath, empty bottles, crisp packets, and a rogue sausage roll he'd forgotten about. But Mark, he smiled. "Best Friday night ever," he muttered, cracking open a fresh bottle to start the day. For Seaside Mark, it wasn't just about the beers or the football or the gnome. It was about living life one bottle at a time. And remember, no gifts affect his benefits. De lads.